If you want to take your coat off, it's warm in here now with all these people, but very pleased to welcome MPP Lisa Thompson here today. We've got a great announcement about our CT here at the Kincardine site. Lots of good information coming from the government. And if you look around at our hospital, we have staff that are dedicated, compassionate, caring, but the facilities that our staff and physicians work in need some help. So this is the first step in us moving that forward to get the facilities in a better position. And you've heard lots about the CT over the last number of years. You're going to hear lots of good news from Lisa when she makes the announcement today. In addition to the CT, we also have a second capital project on the go, which is the redevelopment of the entire hospital. So that would include the redevelopment of the emergency department, diagnostic imaging, the laboratory space. So we're continuing to work on that. Today's announcement is going to be about the CT, and so we'll excited to hear what Lisa's going to share. And probably the last thing I'll say before I pass it over to Lisa is that we couldn't have these announcements, we couldn't do it without the support of so many people. So it includes, you're going to hear from these people today. So we've got a list of speakers that are going to talk about the commitments that they've made to the Kincardine Hospital. That includes the government, includes the foundation, the Kincardine Community Healthcare Foundation, includes Bruce Power, includes our own board of directors in our own hospital, and the community of Kincardine here in Kinloss and all the surrounding communities around there. So lots of good news to share today, and we'll get right to it and let Lisa make the announcement.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, and I'll stand beside the podium so I don't look like just a head. With that said, though, I'm really, really pleased to join all of you here in Kincardine today, because we were here about a year and a half ago talking about the importance of planning and visioning and how the ministry was supporting the South Bruce Grey Hospital Alliance in its plans to move forward with not only the redevelopment but also the suite for the CT scanner. Well, today we have come forward and recognizing that things have evolved over the last 2 years. We are going to be investing over and above the original 1.4 that had been projected. I'm really pleased to share with you today that we're sharing an additional one-time over $1.3 million to bring the total investment for the CT scanner to $2,795,000. So this means so much to the community and our neighboring business communities as well, and it shows that we recognize the leadership and we recognize the value of the amazing medical teams that we have right here at home in Kincardine, and we need to grow with this community as well. So it's just an amazing announcement today, and I'm crossing my fingers. I still have a few days left. I hope to be able to come back in the very near future to share additional good news, to give the community of Kincardine the absolute certainty it has deserved for a very long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I will pass it back to Michael and invite other people to come forward to share what this announcement means to them.
Thanks, Lisa. That's great news and a really big uplift for the community, and something that we've needed. And I think Kincardine has had a number of false starts over the years, trying to get capital development going, probably over 2 decades now. And this is something that we're very pleased to hear, the commitment of this government to make sure that these capital projects are moving forward, which includes the CT and then also the larger redevelopment project. So I want to introduce a number of people that have had such a big impact on getting us to this point today. I'm going to start with our own board chair, Bill Heckela.
Thanks, Mike. On behalf of South Bruce Grey Health Center's Board of Directors, staff, and physicians, I want to thank all of you for attending today. Today is an exciting day for healthcare in the Kincardine community. It was over 3 years ago, in February 2019, when our board supported the submission of an application to the Ministry of Health to bring a CT scanner to Kincardine. Kincardine has the highest demand for CT scans from emergency department visits and inpatients across our 4 sites. Every day, patients are traveling out of the Kincardine community to access this service, and in many cases, our staff and physicians are leaving the hospital to accompany them. It was very clear that this is a service that is needed in Kincardine. Since that time, our staff has moved the project through the 5-stage capital redevelopment process to build an addition onto the Kincardine Hospital to house a CT scanner. Today, MPP Thompson's announcement means that we will proceed to the final stage of this process, which is construction of a 2,000 square foot addition to the CT scanner, and it's just upstairs off the main entrance where we all came in. This project has been a tremendous amount of work for South Bruce Grey Health Center's team, and I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize Drew Braithwaite, our Vice President of Corporate Services and CFO, and Stephanie Douglas, our Corporate Planner, for their incredible efforts in moving this project through the approval process. I'd also like to recognize the Government of Ontario, the Kincardine and Community Healthcare Foundation, and Bruce Power for their financial support of the project, ensuring that the costs of both the equipment and the construction of the addition are completely covered. This is great news for Kincardine. We'll be breaking ground for the CT addition in the coming days, and when it's complete, patients will no longer have to travel for access to a CT scan. And as Mike said, the CT scanner project is just the beginning. South Bruce Grey Health Centre is continuing to advance the redevelopment of the entire Kincardine Hospital, which is very exciting for all of us. And finally, to our local community, I want to thank you for your generous and ongoing support of the Kincardine Hospital. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bill. As Bill said, not having a CT in Kincardine means that when someone comes to the emerge, they need a CT, it means they have to get in a vehicle, whether it's an ambulance, non-urgent transportation, it's a family member, and they have to go down the road to Walkerton. So great services in Walkerton for sure, but that's additional time for the patient, additional stress, and often that patient has to be accompanied by a nurse or a physician. So that's pulling resources out of our hospital here in Kincardine. So the importance of this can't be overemphasized for sure. So our next speaker on the list is going to be Dr. Jason Murray, and Jason's going to talk about the patient impact. So from a physician standpoint, he can give you the real goods on what this means to treating our folks here in the Kincardine Emergency Department. Jason.
Glad I get to go early. This is excellent. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Jason Murray. I'm one of the family physicians here in Kincardine, and I practice emergency medicine. And I'd just like to say, on behalf of the Capital Campaign Committee, of which I am part of, and the Kincardine Physicians Group, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to MPP Lisa Thompson for her and her government's support of our Kincardine CT project. This marks a monumental milestone in the rejuvenation of our local hospital. Obtaining a CT scanner in Kincardine would certainly not have been possible if it weren't for the generosity, support, and hard work of many community members and groups, and a lot of them have been touched on already. Specifically, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mike Renchek and Bruce Power for their generous donation of $1 million, which has been utilized to purchase the CT. And let's not forget their more recent donation of $2 million between Bruce Power and its suppliers, which will go towards the redevelopment. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the municipalities of Kincardine and Huron-Kinloss for their generous donations to our capital campaign this year, and we look forward to their continued support in years to come. Special thanks to the leadership team as well at South Bruce Grey Health Centre and its board of directors for facilitating this CT project coming to fruition. Last but certainly not least, I would like to thank all residents of Kincardine and area for their generous personal and business donations to the Kincardine and Community Healthcare Foundation. The outpouring of support that I have received and the enthusiasm that I have received regarding our capital campaign and the upcoming Rock With Your Docs concert, which is going to be the kickoff to the public phase of the campaign. It's truly humbling, guys. There are no words to describe how proud this makes me as a local physician and how honored I am to serve this caring community. Minister Thompson, this CT scanner that your government has approved is a truly incredible piece of technology. Every single physician and nurse in Kincardine is extremely excited to put this piece of technology to use to enhance patient care in our community. Thank you again for your support on this project and for your support throughout the pandemic. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Dr. Murray. And rumor has it that Dr. Murray has pulled together a band for the Rock the Docs event in June. So stay tuned for it. That'll be the next time the cameras show up. So our next speaker is going to be Jack Nanskiville. And Jack has been a tremendous partner to the hospital, Vice President of the Kincardine Community Healthcare Foundation. So come on forward, Jack.
Thank you, Mike. Well, this is an exciting day for the Kincardine Community Healthcare Foundation. And to be honest with you, it's a great relief on two fronts. Number one, we finally get the chance to put a shovel in the ground because of approval of stage 5. And also, thanks to Lisa bringing good news financially, because this, as you appreciate, relieves the financial burden on the foundation. But there are a number of people we need to thank. And number one is, I would say, is the CEO of South Bruce Grey, Mike Barrett, and the South Bruce Grey Board for having instituted and initiated this project. And it goes back a few years, and it's been a long process through the various stages. And we're particularly delighted, and you've already mentioned Drew Braithwaite and Stephanie Douglas for their ongoing work that they have been doing relative to working with consultants to design the proper project, housing of the CT scanner, and thereby gaining the approval of the ministry, also orchestrating the tenders for the contractors and so forth. So this is a delightful day, and it comes to culmination at a good time for all of us in the spring of 2022. Now we come to the funding side of it from the foundation standpoint. And we are very, very fortunate to have Bruce Power, CEO Mike Drenchuk, to have contributed $1 million to that CT scan purchase. It represents over half the value of that CT machine. And quite frankly, we as citizens of this area need to be particularly grateful to Bruce Power for the fact that they have a corporate conscience that is so generously given to the welfare and health care of our community. We also have to recognize our municipal people, and I see a few municipal representatives here and their respective councils, because besides Bruce Power having committed $2 million towards a redevelopment project, which is very gracious, we also have $600,000 contributed from the Kincardine Council towards the redevelopment as well. And $100,000 from here in Kinloss. So that is fantastic. But now we come to our member of Provincial Parliament, Lisa Thompson. Lisa, you have just been a great champion of this area in Queen's Park. And we are so grateful that you are our voice to represent us as your constituents in Toronto. And it's through your efforts that we get these projects brought to fruition. And we are extremely grateful for your ongoing efforts, and particularly your financial support. That's a great...
Buying 50-50 tickets at the car shows.
Let's put it this way, Lisa, you better leave your right-hand back pocket open. But nevertheless, we are very grateful, and we're also grateful to the community. The community of Kincardine has been very generous, and I say Kincardine, I mean all of the community, as it outreaches through the catchment area of Kincardine Hospital. You've been very, very generous. And just to give you some idea, we spend over $300,000 every year to purchase capital equipment that is requested by South Bruce Grey for the benefit of this hospital, and particularly healthcare professionals like Dr. Murray. And it's huge. But the fact is, I can think back of in the 2000s, we had to go scrounging to raise to $300,000, and today we're able to accomplish that task, so that the vitality of healthcare in Kincardine is maintained. And we are very, very grateful to all of you for your support of our Kincardine and Community Healthcare Foundation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jack, and to all the foundation members that are here today. The foundation has been an incredible partner throughout this entire process. There's always ups and downs with capital projects, and the foundation has been there with us side by side as we navigated these to get to this point today. So very thankful, Jack, and to Becky Fair, the president of the foundation, who couldn't be here today. Now, you've heard mention of Bruce Power, so we're very pleased that Mike Renchek, the president and CEO of Bruce Power, is here today to bring a few words, and a big thank you to you.
Keep the hearing aid in there. It's one thing with the masks that have been hard to navigate. Well, hello everybody. Thanks so much for having us here today. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to say a few words. First and foremost, Lisa, I just can't say enough about the representation you have for our area. Being able to do the types of things that we're doing here as a result of your leadership, and we appreciate that. Whether it's through the funding of hospital additions or stable energy policy, it really lets us take a good long view into the future and to be able to build. But to build things means a community has to come together and has to be able to collaborate and cooperate and really work at some things that are necessarily hard. And it's not just one community, it's all the communities in our area, whether you're in Walkerton or Paisley or Tara or Saugeen Shores. Being able to see that vision, have that vision, be able to take your turn, to be able to collaborate and support each other means everything. And I think we've learned that throughout the pandemic, that when we support each other, we can be successful here in rural Ontario. It takes the vision of Michael and his leadership team and the board and the municipality to be able to say, yes, we want to do these things, and to put that planning in place till you get to the point where you can say, we're going to put a shovel in the ground. And that's when the rubber hits the road. So congratulations on all that planning, all that preparation, and execution now to the final point of being able to do it. It means a lot for Bruce Power and all of our employees. We live in all the surrounding communities. And you may or may not know, but during the height of the pandemic, we had upwards of 12,000 unique people coming to work each week at our facility. And we were able to protect them from COVID with the help of our medical community, making sure people stayed safe and enabling us to keep working. And it enabled us to go out and support the communities and the many small businesses throughout the area. So while the pandemic is still with us, we've shown by working together we can make this. And with great facilities and great support like you're adding here in Kincardine, we'll be ready for the challenges and whatever lies in front of us. So again, Lisa, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate all that you do for the area. And we look forward to shoveling the ground and getting it done and getting it built.
Here, here.
Thanks very much, Mike, and thanks for your generous contribution for both the CT and for the larger redevelopment project. We wouldn't be able to take on these projects without your support, so a big thank you to you and your team. There's been mention about getting shovels in the ground. So we have been anxious to get the shovel in the ground to start building that CT. We've done lots of preparatory work, so we've changed the front entrance, changed the layout of some of the northern side of the diagnostic imaging space. So we're ready to go, and the contractor will be starting very shortly, within days. We actually have ordered the structural steel for the addition because we wanted to get ahead of it, because there's a delay in getting structural steel, as anyone who's doing building these days knows. So we're ahead of this. K&L Construction Limited is the group that won the tender. It was an open tender that we did back in January. So very pleased to get them started. And you've heard the Drew Braithwaite and Steph Douglas. They've been managing this from inside the hospital on an internal basis to make sure that this is a possibility. So really, really great news that we're moving forward. Our last speaker today is Councillor Doug Kennedy. So, Councillor Kennedy, very pleased with we've received tremendous municipal support for not only the redevelopment of the Kincardine Hospital, but also for the CT initiative. So back 4 years ago, I guess now, both municipalities, Kincardine and here in Kinloss, provided funding for the planning work that we needed to do to get to this stage. And now you heard the additional contributions that the municipality has made over the last little while to advance us even further to getting to, because all of these projects take great contributions from the government, which we're receiving in spades from Lisa and the current government, but we also need that local support, as so many speakers have mentioned. So, Councillor Kennedy.
Okay, I had to. Well, exciting day. You know, I'm probably going to repeat a couple things everybody said, but with Bruce Power and Lisa's generous donations, well deserving for our municipality and the hard work of the board. I'm in here on behalf of Mayor Glover, Deputy Mayor Rupel, and our council, you know, to pass on a big thank you to everybody in this room. I truly am honored to be in a room like this, all the amazing people that are in this room today. It's pretty special, and we live in a special town, and our kids and our grandkids deserve what's coming down the road, and you know, I just can't say enough good things about everybody in this room. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Kennedy. And Doug, you also chair the Physician Recruitment Committee for the municipality as well. So always giving back to make sure we're going to be in a good position for moving forward into the future. Now, Lisa, would you like to say any final words before we wrap up?
Well, I was kind of looking at my watch because if anybody else wants to keep up with me, I'm going to St. Anthony's right after this. You'll have to go there to find out what it's about. But Kincardine has been a community that demonstrated it has the heart, it has the caring people that stand behind such important infrastructure investments. And I've had a to-do list for quite some time, but I'm really pleased with the support of Premier Ford and our entire government. I'm getting that to-do list checked off. Okay. And I'm very pleased to say I'm getting that to-do list checked off, but I've started a new one. So ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you cherish what you have coming to Kincardine. It's something that I know that this community has long deserved. Kudos to the foundation, the board, as well as to all the staff. I remember bringing Christine Elliott here, and I've talked about it before, when the big juice cans were underneath the boiler catching the dripping oil. And I can't wait to see the complete redevelopment of this hospital finished for all of you. You deserve it. Amen. And I look forward to seeing the docks rock on June 17th, Father's Day weekend. Thanks so much.
So that concludes our event for this afternoon. So again, a big thank you, Lisa, for the generous contribution from the government today. All of our contributors.
It's 2.795 to be exact.
That's right. So more good news to come for Kincardine. So we are just we're moving forward. Very excited about what we have in place for the Kincardine community, for healthcare in this community as well. So lots of great things ahead. So thanks very much again for coming today, and look forward to seeing the shovel in the ground within the coming days. So have a good afternoon.